Alright, welcome back. So we have the problem letters today. So there are, I think, 5 letters in Russian that are the problem letters. Okay, so these letters are O, the O, Ye, Yo, Ya, and G. And the G sound, G, I guess, in Russian. So these are a problem because sometimes they have different pronunciations and it can depend on the situation. So the most annoying one is definitely the O. So in Russian, in languages we have a thing called stress. Stress is like which syllable you pronounce. I'll give you an example. So take the word, I don't know, inspector. You could inspector. So we emphasize the second syllable in English. Inspector. If I do it the other way around, it sounds very weird. If I say inspector, it sounds weird, or inspector, it sounds weird. So inspector, so we do in syllables. In Russian, they emphasize vowels. So they have one vowel in every word that's the emphasized one, and the other ones aren't emphasized. The problem with this is the letter O, when it is emphasized, it is an O sound, like normal. If it's not, then it will be an A sound. Let's take, for example, the city Toronto in Canada. In Russian, I believe the stress is on the second O. So the other ones, it should be just all O's, but it's actually Toronto. So the O is pronounced as an A, just to be annoying. Or you have lots of words like достаточно, where you have literally like 3 O's and they're all pronounced as A because the stress is on the A. I'll highlight the stress with an underline and a bold, just so you can see it, with the words I show. So it's a very problem word. Normally you need to know the stress to be able to pronounce different words, and can be difficult at first because if you haven't heard a word, I mean, I have this problem now. If I don't know a word, look it up in Google Translate, it contains an O, I don't know how to pronounce it. I have to guess. If it's an O or an A, I have to guess, basically. So that is one problem. Okay, the next one, which I will probably make a video about, probably complaining about this in the future. So we have ye and your. What's the problem with these? Russian people do not write your. Ever. They don't write it. You can find, go to read any book in Russian, any article, they will never write your. They always write ye, and they understand it from context. Problem with this is, you don't know. If you're learning a language and you don't know it, I'll give you some example. Here is a Russian name. Try and read it. This is how Russian people write it. Or another one, former Russian president. Try and read it. How Russian people write it, it says, for example, Alena or Khrushchev. But it's not. The thing is, we do this in English as well. We call him Khrushchev, I guess we call him. But it's actually Khrushchev and Alyona. They don't write it. I think this is because in like Russian typewriters, they didn't have this letter on the typewriter. And if you want to type it in Russian, it's actually the key next to the 1 on a keyboard, so it's just annoying. So Russian people will never write this letter. If you're learning Russian and you want to practice writing, always write it so you know and remember where it is. I normally use a tool when I read things that will add the your in for me. Sometimes it can even depend. I'll give you an example. The word всё and все, which is like all and all plural. It's like all singular, all plural, and they spell the same. Все. So one is всё, one is все, and Russian people will write it the same way, and you understand it through context. Beginners can't understand it through context. Even I find it difficult now to understand through context. So yeah, another problem letter. The next one is ya. So again, with the O, it depends on the stress. So if it is stressed, it'll be a ya or an a. Kind of depends on the. Sometimes it's not a ya and a. There's no difference. But if it's not stressed, then it will actually change. I'll give you an example. So try and pronounce this word. So this is October, Октябрь. So it's a ya. So it is on the stress is on the ya. But if you change the, I won't explain this now. I'll explain this later. There's different forms of different words. If you say in October, it will change the pronunciation and it will be on the end, not in the middle. So the ya is not pronounced as a ya, but it's pronounced as an I sound. So it's like October v octobre. Tibre. So it's an I, not an ya. Confusing. Depends on the stress. You don't need to. You basically just need to be aware of this. You don't need to be an expert in pronunciation, but sometimes it could be a cause of problem. I can tell you about a funny situation that happened to me. There is a Russian word. There is a Russian word called trichnut, which means to shake, like to shake hands. And if you pronounce that like a ya, it will actually be a very rude Russian word. And I was reading a book or something like this, and it was something like on trichnul его руку, like he shook his hand. And if you say it with a ya, it will actually be a rude word that starts with an F in English. But anyway, sometimes you will have this situation where you just try to read with the stress markings if you can. Lots of beginner materials will have the stress. So if it's stressed, it will be ya. If it's not, it's an I sound, basically. And last we have g or g, I guess. The G sound, the g sound. I'll go into cases a little later. Basically, sometimes this will be pronounced as a v sound. It's based on cases, but it's like a certain case ending has this ending. So sometimes most of the time it's a g, but sometimes it's a v, and it depends on the situation. Here is a great example. Very confusing word. Try and pronounce this. So when I first saw this word, I was like, what? I mean, Russian people say to me, oh, Russian, it's just, you know, как пишется, как произносится, as they say in Russian. It's not the same. This is not written as it's pronounced. It should be written like this, but it's actually pronounced like this. So it's strogova. So we have like 3 O's there. 2 of them are A, and you have a G, which is a V. So it's just not written. So one of the G is, well, 2 G. So it's like strogova. So one of the G's is a G, the other G is a V. It's basically it's a case ending, which I will explain cases in the future. Alright, so that's all for this series about the alphabet. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next episode.